Going out to eat is as American as baseball or apple pie. You would think feeding the masses would keep restaurants accountable for the safety of their guests and workers. Sadly, this isn't always the case, and you could be putting your health in the hands of a stranger serving you food. Did you know that it's okay for restaurant owners to clean shrimp with formaldehyde, a pungent gas in solution? Stay tuned to see why. If you're new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. Today, we're exposing 10 nasty restaurant secrets revealed by Gordon Ramsay. Hand washing. If you've ever been out to eat, then you probably appreciated when the person who's touching your food washed their hands. It's one of the first things new servers and food handlers learn. Run your hands under warm water, apply soap, and sing happy birthday to yourself twice. Rinse and dry, and you're done, my friend. Sadly, some restaurant workers just don't have enough time to do this simple task, and sometimes they're just lazy. A study found that as much as 62% of restaurant workers don't wash their hands during their shift. Considering 3,000 Americans pass away each year from food poisoning, this should be an alarming statistic. Just imagine it. These people often handle raw meat, clean dirty tables, and may even be sick themselves. Many times, restaurant workers can't miss a shift when they're sick because they'll get fired if they don't show up. That means they'll show up sick, and if they aren't following the proper hygiene protocol, the customer suffers. And that doesn't exclude the chef. The primary person handling the food in the restaurant might actually be sick. In fact, in 2012, 20% of chefs in America admitted to being very ill during at least one shift during the year. Who knows how many other illnesses this leads to? This is mostly because they probably forgot to wash their hands. This is gross. Don't anger the chef. If we've learned anything from Kitchen Nightmares and Gordon Ramsay himself, it's that chefs are easily angered. Have you ever seen Ramsay fire off at a head chef? It's not a pretty picture. Well, he isn't the only one with an attitude. When a chef has a chip on their shoulder, anything can set them off. It can be as easy as a customer sending back an item that can cause a disaster in the kitchen. Many times, chefs have egos and think that they've done a great job creating a meal for you. So when you send it back, you never know what will be brought back to your table. What you have to understand is that most of the time, chefs are working 6 to 7 days a week. What makes them good chefs, like determination and focus, makes them pretty hard to deal with outside of the kitchen. So when a customer sends something they feel like they mastered back, it infuriates them. The customer isn't the only one who gets the brunt of this anger either. If a server has a bad relationship with the back of the house crew, chances are your order is going to take longer. When in doubt, try not to send anything back to the kitchen unless it's a horrible mistake like undercooked chicken. Then even the chef will understand. Wages and theft. There's been a push for a $15 minimum wage lately. One of the biggest industries that would take a hit with this change would be the restaurant industry. Many times, servers make around $3 an hour and rely on tips for money. Sadly, they may not ever see that money because where there is cash, there are thieves. Just because you trust the people you work with doesn't mean they won't steal from you. So when you leave a cash tip for a server, you should hand it to them. That way you know for sure they're getting it. It doesn't stop at the table either. Bartenders are known to steal money, but this time it isn't from a coworker. Have you ever been to a restaurant bar and the bartender hooked you up with a free drink? This was probably in the hopes that you would give them a big tip. Sadly, this is a form of stealing from the establishment. It happens all the time, but it's something that is hard for owners and managers to regulate. On the other hand, some major chain restaurants have come under fire for shaving time off of their employees' hours. Places like Ruby Tuesday and the Outback had lawsuits filed against them when they shaved overtime pay off of workers' paychecks. Ice machines. This may come as a shock, but there could be something dirtier than the toilet at restaurants. That would be the ice machine. Did you know that just because ice is cold, it doesn't kill all the bacteria? In fact, a lot of times, restaurant ice machines harbor bacteria and mold. Studies show that 70% of the time, the ice in your cup is dirtier than the water in the bathroom's toilet bowl. This is pretty scary, right? During a study in the UK, researchers found that E. coli was present in 30% of ice samples taken from 88 restaurants. There are many factors to consider with ice machines in restaurants. Many times, they're contaminated by employees. Some employees stick their unwashed hands in the machines, which can cause any bacteria transfer. Other times, employees will stick personal bottled drinks on the ice to keep them cold. Both of these are health code violations, but it doesn't prevent them from happening. Some restaurants don't even clean out their larger ice machines. What's left behind is a disgusting moldy slime. Considering health inspectors only visit restaurants twice a year, there there isn't much incentive other than customer health to keep their ice clean. You'll probably never look at restaurants' ice the same way ever again. Ditch the bread. Just because something is free doesn't mean it's always good. At least that's the case for the free basket of bread at restaurants. When it comes to these little baskets of freebies, it's best to skip them altogether. This is mostly because you probably aren't the first person to have that bread on your table. That's right, many times when people don't finish their warm baked goodies, it ends up on another customer's table. Waiters will put the bread back in a warmer to be preserved. We aren't saying your fellow patrons are unsanitary, but you never know what happened to that food while it was on their table. Did they sneeze on it? Did they touch it and put it back? There's no way to be certain. The good news is that there aren't many cases of foodborne illnesses originating from bread baskets. That doesn't keep the practice from being gross anyways. Before going out, ask yourself if the establishment seems like the type of place that would reuse food to save a buck. If it appears like that kind of restaurant, then what are you doing there in the first place? Stick to the restaurants you know are sanitary, and you're more likely to dodge this disgusting restaurant industry practice. Getting you to spend more. Have you ever been to a restaurant and spent way more money than you intended? This is probably because the server tricked you into doing so. There are several tricks restaurant employees, as well as the restaurants themselves, pull to run up the price of your bill. One of the ways servers do this is by suggesting still or sparkling bottled water when you just ask for water. They don't even give you the option of saying tap water. This is because bottled water is usually marked up 300%. Pretty sneaky, right? If someone pulls this on you, it's totally acceptable to still ask for tap water. Another little trick has to do with the construction of the menu. Did you know there are items on the list that are never meant to be sold? They are there to make other options seem more desirable. For example, if a menu offers a ridiculously expensive item, the restaurant has no intention of actually selling it. It's there to make the other items placed around it on the menu seem like a deal. The same thing goes with meal combos or price-fixed menus. Getting a combination of food for a certain price makes it look like you're getting a deal, but usually it's the most expensive thing on the menu. Pack your leftovers yourself. Considering the portion size of restaurant entrees these days, you probably don't always finish your whole meal. So what do? You order a doggy bag, of course. Have you ever been to a restaurant where the server boxes your food for you? Well, this may not be the best choice. Like we said before, not all servers have the best hygiene. Plus, you have no idea what they're doing with your food when they take it with them. Many times, servers will box food on counters that are near trash cans. Who knows what has been on or around that surface? It also isn't uncommon for your food to fall on a counter or even the floor and still wind up in your to-go box. Sometimes you may not be getting everything back in your box either. Have you ever had a huge pile of leftovers and when the box came back it seems like a smaller portion? That's because there's no way of actually tracking what makes it into your doggy bag if you aren't doing it yourself. When in doubt, pack your leftovers yourself to make sure the food is not only safe but also all there. Owners want to save money. It's no secret that business owners try to save money, and it's no different in the restaurant industry. How many times have you seen Gordon Ramsay lose his mind on a restaurant owner for being cheap and trying to cut corners? It's a common occurrence, and it can have some serious repercussions. Some gross ways owners try to save money is by serving employees old food. One ex-restaurant worker claims their owner told him to give employees rotten hamburger meat as part of their daily employee meal. The meal was part of their contract, and the owner had to abide by it. So instead of serving the employees the meal meant for guests, the workers got old meat and probably wound up in the hospital. Since this happened in the UK, the owner wasn't responsible for medical bills either, as healthcare is free over there. Another way owners cut corners has to do with that shrimp you love so much. Now that Americans consume large amounts of this shellfish, they're mass-produced and farm-raised. To keep the shrimp clean, they're treated in something called formalin, which is a diluted formaldehyde. The scariest part is that this practice is approved by the FDA. It makes the shrimp last longer, which saves owners big bucks in wasted food expenses. Kitchens are stressful. As we've said before, chefs can get angry over the slightest inconvenience. This is because kitchens are very stressful. Any fan of kitchen nightmares knows this is true. If you watch Chef Gordon Ramsay in a kitchen, there's a good chance something is being thrown and everyone is stressed out. In all the chaos, it's easy for accidents to happen. Sometimes chefs end up cutting their fingers and hands, and if these injuries aren't life-threatening, then chances are they'll have to apply a Band-Aid and work through the pain. Considering these these workers are cooking with hot ovens and fiery stoves, it's almost a guarantee that someone will get hurt. It's not uncommon for back-of-house workers to burn several parts of their bodies. That means they not only have to focus on a restaurant's worth of orders, but they also have to make sure they're staying safe. When people are yelling and screaming for their food, it can be hard to concentrate. Hence why we say the kitchen is a stressful environment. Not to mention how physically exhausting being on your feet for 8 hours at a time can be. Think about that the next time you dine out. Give your chef a break and try not to be too picky or rude. Why food safety matters. Food safety is one of the most important things in the restaurant industry. If an establishment serves bad food to a customer, not only does it affect the guests, but it can also be bad for business. Who remembers when Chef Ramsay was at a restaurant called Dylan's? This restaurant had several food safety issues like moldy meat and green chicken. Could you imagine what would have happened if Ramsay didn't throw this all away and it was served to guests? If we had to guess, it wouldn't be a pretty picture. There are many rules and regulations for keeping restaurant food safe, but it's shocking how many can't seem to get it right. One of the biggest mistakes restaurants make on kitchen nightmares is not abiding by the FIFO rule. This means first in, first out. This keeps food in a proper rotation and ensures that the establishment is always serving fresh food. It sounds like an easy concept, but many times workers are too lazy to use it. That is how places like Dylan's end up with rotten meat and discolored old chicken. Both are truly nightmares for a kitchen, so it's no wonder Gordon Ramsay is always red in the face when dealing with situations like this. Are you shocked by any of these restaurant secrets revealed? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. For more entertaining videos, check out our friends at The Trendy. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe to The Taco.